Howdy again. It's tubalcain, also known as Mr. Pete 222 or simply Lyle. And welcome to episode number 26 of my This and That series, and I have several interesting things to show you in this episode. First of all, I received an email and then a nice present from Wimberly, David Wimberly, and what he had given me here eventually in the next mailing was the Wimberly tool holder, and these are the instructions for that, and this is what it looks like, and it is to be held in an Loris type of tool post. Very interesting, and there are videos on that, and you'll see me using this in a future video, and it uses a common high-speed steel tool bit. So I think you're going to find that interesting, and so am I, in that I have never used one of these. Thank you very much, David. Just yesterday, out of the clear blue sky, I received a mailing from Donald Warner from Illinois, and thank you very much for this, Don. And in it are several catalogs, machine-type catalogs, but I particularly like this one on Atlas shop equipment, and it's from 1940. Now, I already have the one from 1950, and I have enjoyed looking through it and perusing through it and all of that, but this one is of particular interest. It goes into a great detail on the construction of all their lathes, the development of them, the features, and apparently the F-series here, 10-inch, was brand new in 1940, or the improvements that they made, and I noticed it's available both with plain bearings and tapered roller bearings, as shown here. Very detailed information on the construction. Look at those pictures of the apron, inside of the apron. You know, and I didn't know that this was available, if I have that picture. Maybe I'll run across it, but on a cabinet. Well, there it is. The 10-inch on a cabinet that they provided. I've never actually seen one in real life, but there's the usual base that you see it, or it could be table mounted. And then all of the attachments, chucks, collets, and several things that aren't available anymore. They either didn't sell, or there was some reason why they took them off the market. Conversions to a turret lathe. And this was before the Second World War, and I was a negative 3 years old when this came out. So I have already spent a couple hours looking through this. I really liked it. This is the standard Atlas carriage stop, and you've seen me use that often, and in a recent video I showed you how to make one of these. But there was something that caught my eye in this catalog, and that is their micrometer carriage stop that they had in 1940, and look at the way it clips onto the bed. Now, this must have been a failure. I've never actually seen one of these, and the reason it would have been a failure is that it would have prevented the carriage from advancing far enough toward the headstock, I believe. It would block the movement of it. But pretty neat little deal, isn't it? And that is one that couldn't cock. That's why I'm showing you that. It wouldn't be able to cock. And in a follow-up of this, some of the comments were such that it ought to clamp across that. Well, they tried that and it didn't work. So that's why I'm pointing that out. Apparently their shaper was new, or darn near new, because it says new here in 1940. And in this catalog they did not have their little milling machine, so that must not have been introduced yet. But there are several pages here telling you all about its features, and then a grand picture there of it. Also, I had no idea that Atlas made bench vices of all kinds with the name Atlas right on them, and also anvils, woodworking vices. They offered a complete line of machinist tools, but I think they were rebranded. They appear to be Goodell Pratt. They had a neat little belt disc sander and a complete line of arbor presses that I was unaware of, from very small to larger ones and even hydraulic ones. So I thought you would find that interesting, pictures of the factory as I did. Also included in that package was a more modern Atlas catalog. This is from 1976 or 78, I forgot which, so it's 40 years newer. But you wonder what they were thinking of when they changed this beautiful logo here in script to this. What were men smoking in the boardroom where they made those decisions when they changed that? Which do you like better? He also included these catalog sheets from Williams, and this is from 1976, so they already were a division of something else, which I'm sure caused them to fail and stop selling these. But in this sheet here, there's such wonderful information about their tool holders. And in each one of these views here, they are comparing their Williams with a competitive brand. Well, what do you think the competitive brand is? Could it be Armstrong? And showing you how to use them. And then on the inside, similar views of, I hope I'm not boring you with this, how to use the knurling tools. They don't have catalogs like that. Well, they don't have paper catalogs anymore. Everything's online. I just love these paper catalogs and these older ones. That's why I'm so glad that this was sent to me. Here's all kinds of information on planer tools and shaper tools. Well, nobody even uses those machines anymore. So how awesome is that? And I have had this in stock for several years already. Well, many years. This is the 1966 one. That's the one like I had at the high school from Armstrong, showing their complete line of wrenches and lathe tools and so on. So thanks again, Don. And also in here was some sheets on threaded rod. Well, why is that interesting? Because they have Acme threaded rod and nuts and so on. And one thing I found of interest in here, look at Acme doubles. Acme nuts double. You could buy Acme nuts that obviously could have been used, and they're cast iron, modified and used in a lathe for the compound or cross slide. And why do I say that? Because they're left hand and right hand. Is that neat? Those were $25 40 years ago. All right. Thanks, Don. Sometimes I need to explain a few things that are going on here on YouTube, so I'm sitting at my computer now, and some of you might be wondering why you sometimes send me comments on the videos and you cannot find them, or I cannot find them, and sometimes I don't find them for months, especially if it's on an older video. But if you look farther down here, and this won't be probably on your computers regarding my videos, but look under here. Here's comments waiting for approval. Well, if it's a 1-year-old video, I probably never will see this, but sometimes there's a whole row of comments here, and notice that on some of them there'll be a checkbox so I can approve them, and then they will appear in the regular video for other people to see. But there's no place on this one, and many that I'm getting, for me to even approve them. I'm able to look at them, but I'm not even able to answer them, for that matter, other than if I go to this person's site and leave a comment. But I cannot bounce off of it. Now, I don't know why YouTube does that, or why some are that way and some are not, but certainly if you send me a comment that has a URL on it, that is a link, it always will end up in this box. It will not until I approve it, if I am able to approve it. I just thought I'd point that out. Now, I'm sitting here in front of my smart TV, and apparently nobody out there has smart TVs or uses that feature. But I wanted to show you something on here, and you need to get a smart TV if you don't have one, because there's nothing on broadcast TV worth watching. But here, as I switch into YouTube, I'm able to do searches and look at various videos, but I can actually talk to my machine here. So if I click on the microphone button and say tubalcain, notice that tubalcain has appeared right here, and there are my videos. So you can find videos that way. Or ox tool. Well, it came up oxygen. I'll try it again. Ox tool. There it goes. And there's Tom Lipton's channels. And if I click on one of them here, and there's A-bomb sitting there. So you can watch videos on your smart TV, and it's so much better than using your computer, because you can sit back in your lazy boy. There's Tom Lipton, who I often watch. You can also do a search on your smart TV. For instance, here's A-bomb 79, and the reason I'm showing you this with A-bomb is that I'm soon to go down to Pensacola on a trip with my wife to the Gulf Coast, and I've already arranged with Adam Booth to stop and see him, so watch for that as we meet for the first time here in a few weeks. I'm over at my Bridgeport mill right now, and I wanted to show you something that Joe Kiefer out of Jacksonville, Florida recently sent me as a gift. Now, I thank you very much, Joe. I'll be getting a lot of use out of these. But they are a plastic, some kind of plastic table cover for the milling machine table. And they are a platform where, look at how they're made on the back side. They fit right into the T-slots. You can pull them out to dump the chips off, so it'll help you clean up. It makes a nice place to set your hammers or your work or your wrenches or whatever you got without damaging the table, and they won't roll off because it's kind of got a tread on it here. So those are real neat. And you can also use them like this, a little bit outboard, to extend the length of the table, so you got even a little more workspace. How awesome is that? So I'll be using those all the time. Thank you, Joe. I guess I forgot to tell you, those are made by Trend Designs out of Kansas. Pretty ruggedly built, too. In a separate mailing several weeks later, the ever-thoughtful Joe Kiefer sent me another care package here. And in this package, he included some cap screws. I think he heard me lamenting the fact that I missed number 12 and, for that matter, number 14 screws, which are either not available or they're rather obscure and they're a special order. But here he sent me some 12 28 by 1 inch socket head cap screws, a nice quantity of them. Also the same thing in 3/4 length and the same thing in 1/2 inch length, as well as a nice selection here of Philister head screws, aircraft grade, you know, in several sizes, as noted right there. But the interesting thing about these, and a lot of people do not know what a Philister head is. It looks something like a socket head, but of course it is slotted. You used to see a lot of those on carburetors. And the screwdriver doesn't slip out of the slot, so those are awesome. But what makes these aircraft grade, other than possibly with the alloy, I don't know. But look at that hole in there for safety wiring, I suppose. And you know what? I bet drilling that hole in there doubled the cost of these screws. If you know how difficult it is to drill millions of holes like that, cross holes, and how many drill bits they probably went through. Again, thanks, Joe, but let me show you something else about those screws. Using my Brownell screw checker here, I took the liberty of putting all three of those screws into the appropriate slot there. Now the middle one is the number 12 that, or the number 14 rather, that Joe gave me. Here's a 12, of course the 14, and the quarter. Now there also is a 14, so you can see that there is somewhat of a gap here between this one and this one. But look at how close together a 10 and a 12, yeah, a 10 and a 12 is. Almost, if you just had them in the palm of your hand, you wouldn't be able to notice the difference without a trained eye. But the in-between sizes like that are just a wonderful thing. And I doubt you'll find those at the hardware store, but I suppose McMaster Carr has them. Kurt Armbrust, and thank you Kurt, out of Menlo Park, California, sent me a couple of bars of solder. You know, I appreciate these guys sending me things like this. I mean, he paid $14.50 for postage. But here are a couple bars of solder. And you know, often I heard of solder called 50-50, and sometimes we say half and half, but I was surprised to see the word half and half actually on the bar of solder. Possibly someone paid 50 cents for those at a garage sale. Not sure, but there's Federated brand, 50-50. That means, well, I think you all know what that means. What does that mean? There might be some out there that do not know what half and half means. But you know, more and more, you can't even find lead-based solder. Ah, yes. Thanks again, Kurt. Stephen Alec out of the UK knows I like these little crescent wrenches, adjustable wrenches I should say, and so he sent me this one, clear from over the pond, and it's 2.5 inches long, so that can be added to my collection. And you saw an even smaller one in the last This and That. However, it wasn't operational. This one actually does work. So thank you, Stephen. Also in that mailing, he sent me some samples of tiny screws used in model making, and we've all talked about the BA threads, British Association. And look at how small, that's the number 12. Usually we use about a 7 in the Stewart models. There's a 14. I had no idea that they were that small. And here's some, also for you guys that like your metric, there's a 1 millimeter, 1.2 millimeter, and a 1.4 millimeter. All right, thank you, Stephen. I guess I forgot to tell you the most important thing about that little wrench is that it's metric. Recently I was at a trade show in Peoria, Illinois, and I linked up with a man by the name of Terry Kirkpatrick, and he's one of the co-owners of Alumatank along with his brother. And there's their brochure. They make aluminum fuel tanks for trucks. And there he is at his display there, and we had a wonderful talk. I had met him before. And there I am with Terry, and look forward now in the next few months when the weather breaks, when I go up to almost the Wisconsin border and visit this company and hope to do a nice field trip video of some of their aluminum welding and other activities that go on there. And Terry and his brother are great guys. Recently I was in contact several times with a man by the name of Dave Kalin out of Jackson, Michigan, and he's affiliated with the Makerspace up there, and they sent me these plaques here which are part of the 10 Pillars of Wisdom. Why there are 12 cogs on the gear here, I do not know, but I thought that was interesting, something that they made up there. And for those of you that do not know what a Makerspace is, I'm going to let you read this. You can pause your video to read that, but it's a space created for people to gather together, pay a small fee, and they have access to different equipment, machine shop, woods, CAD, just about anything you can think of, and they sometimes have classes. So it's a wonderful thing, and I've been contacted by people up in northern Illinois, and also there's one down in St. Louis, and I probably will visit the one in northern Illinois to see what they got going on. But this is the one up in Michigan. They have a brochure and a website and all of that. So I thought that is so interesting for people that maybe live in an apartment, or they're retired, or they can't afford their own shop, or whatever the case may be, to get together in a space like that that is provided for them with the equipment that they could never afford or have access to. So thank you, Dave, for that information, and I hope that some of you would pursue this and take a little look at these, because apparently these exist all around the country. Thank you for watching this video. It ran a little bit long, but I hope that there was something in there that was interest of you. And keep watching my videos. This is tubalcain saying so long for now.